Okay.
utilize that.
Well, we'll have Travis check with DSS, and then we'll go from there once you get, checked in with them, and then find out for sure.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep, thank
All
you.
right.
You
And then
bet.
you guys function from what, May till October?
Actually, the 1st of June till the end of October, so it's only 5 months.
June to October. Okay. All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, next we have our presentation regarding the Southern Health Partners for the Jail Services. Mr. Nowlin, you are up.
Give me a thumbs up when you're hooked up, and then I'll switch it over.
It's in. Look at that. It's almost like we know what we're doing. Well, maybe. Oof, there it is. Okay, as I had shared with you a month or so ago about Southern Health Partners, with the medical assistance back in the Montezuma County Detention Center, this is going to be really a critical need starting January 1 because of the change in the state statutes when it comes to the jails, when it comes to inmates. They have to be tested, drugs have to be administered for any addiction or substance abuse problems that they have, and the list goes on and on. Right now, we have to rely on the emergency room as well as Southwest Memorial Hospital and in the walk-in clinic. These trips for inmates occurs almost daily. This will eliminate that completely. And I'm looking at what I put up in here. They sent a five day a week proposal and a 7 day a week proposal. And I'll tell you, I think that the 7 day a week is really what we need to have in there, someone in there every single day. What is nice about it is that their medical team advisor is there Monday through Friday. LPN is going to be there on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, with the medical director and the physician, whether it be a physician's assistant or a regular physician, there on every Tuesday. So that is going to be a big relief to me anyway, and I think to all of us that they take that liability on when it comes to the medical. Would you look at the price for that is $256,548 annually. But if you look at the optional service pricing for the cost pool, I'm going to suggest that for the first year, I would ask that we take and look at adding that $30,000 onto that to make it the $286,568 because of what it adds to that, just in case. These are the things that are covered under the cost pool. And I'll tell you, for the very first year, that may not be something bad to look at, to have that additional coverage in. Anything that is not expended in that $30,000 cost pool, as they stated in there, is returned back to the county. And if this is paid for out of the law enforcement authority budget, then that'll definitely cover that, and it could be returned to that. So it's something to really consider, and the sooner that I can get an approval, such as maybe next Tuesday, tomorrow, I can get at least there's a lot of groundwork that has to be done before January 1. The policies and procedures need to be prepared with this team as well. This is all done without any cost up into that time that we would pay for that service, or when it would start January 1st of 2023.
Okay, so I can tell you that Travis and I somewhat had this conversation with the sheriff last week when we were working on the budget. First of all, it removes all of the liability from us.
Yep.
And that's actually a good thing. And then, so the next big question that we had was how do we pay for it? Well, we can use the LEA, like you just said, and we were up on the LEA fund, if you guys remember from the audit, I think we were up 208,000. So we definitely have the funds in the LEA that we can utilize, which then doesn't come out of county general, which then leaves our money where it's at, and he can still utilize the LEA funds, and he's got plenty of funds in the LEA that we can take it out of LEA and then get this liability or burden, probably both, off of us as far as the county.
So I think we need to be a little careful saying that this is gonna remove all liability from the county.
I'm
Just
not-
because these folks are handling the medical, doesn't mean that the county can't be sued, doesn't mean that the county won't be sued,
Yeah,
doesn't
I
mean that the
didn't
deputies
mean
won't be
that.
sued.
I'm just saying
yeah.
that it does help to remove some of the, I should say that.
It certainly would remove some of it, but, I mean, as we see consistently, there's a lot of stuff that leads up to a medical incident and then follows a medical incident that we tend to get sued for. And just because we have somebody handling the medical doesn't mean that we're not gonna be named in a lawsuit and possibly be
Sure.
liable.
Realistically, we're probably gonna be named in every lawsuit.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think it just eliminates some,
Well, and the hope is that, the better the services, the less chance there
Right.
is for something to go bad too. So.
Sheriff Nowlin, this takes the place of what you have in-house now.
Yeah, one nurse.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah, how much are we gonna what does that nurse cost us?
That position, or that nurse will be
Integrated?
enveloped into this
Okay.
program. She'll actually be an employee of Southern Health Partners. Yeah.
Yeah, going down through this list, of course, there's always mental health services.
And we have mental health services already that are
Okay,
back there with Access, that's 7 days a week.
okay,
So I don't see the cost or the need for that because it's already ongoing.
okay.
Yep. If something were to happen to where it would be needed, it would have to be something that would involve a lot more inmates than what it does in order for me to come to you and say, we might want to look at that, because I just don't think that's a cost that we need to look at right now.
I'm good.
that's really it in a nutshell. And like I said, the first thing for me was how do we pay for it?
Yeah,
And looking at it, it's, we can pay for it through the LEA, which Steve has already mentioned that, so to me, it's pretty straightforward, and like Ian said, it doesn't eliminate us, but I think the better that we can do it gives us a potential for elimination down the road.
Yeah. Well, and the county attorney is right, it's not going to relieve everything, but I'll tell you, when it comes to administering drugs and to actually the medical care and the ordering up of those drugs for those inmates, that's off of us, okay? And we don't have any hands on that at all. And that's where it's so important, especially coming January 1, that we have something in place to help cover that. Because right now, I got zip, okay? I really don't. We can't administer and provide those drugs the way that it's going to be required to happen. So that it's going to remove quite a bit of the liability on us. Working with them and having a good training and policy in place with the incorporation of this Southern Health Partners is something that we're going to work on if it's approved from that point to the end of the year. Yeah, so it's in place.
Do they train these folks?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
and who certifies them?
They train, they don't certify. Now,
Okay.
as far as the nurses and the doctors, the LPNs, all of those come
Right.
with this company. And they
Okay.
hold all the credentials for that.
Yeah, those would all be
Okay.
state certifications.
Yeah. We don't train any of them.
Because that's one of the things that you get asked in
That's
court.
what we're paying
Where
for.
did you get your training?
Yeah. So we're getting that with that program. Yeah. So, okay.
Okay, questions?
Further
Any other
questions?
questions?
Oh, I don't have any, but seems like it'll be a lot better deal.
What's that?
I think it's a
I said,
step.
it seems like that'll be a lot better deal for you, is to
Yeah.
have somebody there that can administer them without having to run to the hospital all the time and stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Well, it'll save you a lot of time transport.
I'm telling you, yes, it will. Every little thing that happens anymore is just unbelievable. And trying to decipher between what comes in that was already a pre-existing condition, those we don't cover.
Right.
I mean, the law is pretty clear on that. We're not responsible for it, but this is something that we can fall back on and say, there, instead of taking it to the hospital or to urgent care to get and wait for a doctor's report about whether this was pre-existing or whatever the case may be.
Well, just the time that your deputies spend in, like the ER.
Exactly.
If you can keep that under control.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Reduce it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I mean, they have other places they could be.
Oh, God, yes. And just being within the facility and not leaving that, that's
Right.
the thing. Yeah, so it cuts it short when they have to transport, so, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Steve. You'll have a decision tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
And that is, looking at it, we do have that on our,
Right.
for a decision for tomorrow, so, okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Next, I don't see, so we'll go to the landfill mill. So it looks like we have some other proposals for our compost turner after we had our discussion last week.
Correct. You guys should have all the copies of those
Right.
Yep,
in front of you. So the new machine, A58 from Ecoverse, which is the Backus machine, come in at $419,000, which is about 40-something thousand cheaper than the 2020.
right, because that was at 465, and this is actually a bigger machine. Do you have those, Travis? Can you pull those up?
You'll have to let me know which one it is.
So
This one?
that's the Comtech, no.
That's out of it?
X out of that one. That's the Scarab.
You want it up?
Nope. He was actually in my office Friday. I talked to him about this. They can't even come close. Even though they, US company, they won't. He said they couldn't match it. So that leaves us with the two options of the Comtech and the Backus. And the Backus is 2022, it's 40-something thousand cheaper.
Correct. So basically 420,000 instead of the 465 that we had basically approved to move forward. So
Correct.
it looks like we're getting a brand-new machine
Correct.
with no hours,
And it's
and a
available for immediate delivery.
bigger machine, and it is available.
It's in Ohio, but they have it on the lot.
So
So,
a couple weeks to get it here.
so Mel, these machines, were these different than what was originally put out for bid? I mean, were they,
They are. So these two machines, the Comtech and the Ecoverse, the one that we had talked about last week, the 2020, is actually a bigger machine, but they came in with a lower price for that machine by $100,000 versus a new one. So we thought we could get the bigger machine, even though it only had 50 hours on it, for a better price. It's a little bit bigger than what I put in the bid specs. And then Backus said they could beat that with the new machine, and that's when they contested it and give us the current bid. And it's quite a big difference in the price. It's a little bit bigger machine, but with our small area, it could actually work out to our benefit. We could build bigger roads with it.
Real quick, Mel, can you
Here-
pull the mic closer?
Here's my concern. I mean, we put things out for bid per our procurement policy. And then it sounds like we got a response that didn't necessarily fit within what we put out. Then we approved that, and now we're getting sort of a matching offer on what was outside the procurement policy. I think if we're gonna strictly comply with the procurement policy, we probably ought to put this thing out for bid with the specs that we actually want, and we should allow everybody an opportunity to come in and make an offer. I
think
mean, otherwise,
that's
we're in a very
kinda-
funky situation
I
where
think
we're.
that's what we did, so we put it out, right?
We did.
And we got a bid from Backus and the other company, but the other companies in reality didn't meet the specs because they offered us a 20.
Well, they offered the same machines, and then they threw in this bigger machine as a side note.
Right, at a 2020 model with the
Correct.
50 hours.
They
So-
actually did bid the machines that was on the specs, but again, they were higher.
But ultimately, the machine we're looking at now, the machines we're looking at getting now, are not the machines that we
They're one size bigger.
asked for in the bid.
Correct, that is correct. It is one size bigger because then it matches the 2020 machine that the other company had bid.
Correct. So if you want to compare the actual bids from Comtech and Backus on what the RFP was for, Backus beat them in every aspect. The only reason I suggested the 2020 machine from Comtech was it was a bigger machine for $100,000 cheaper. And I cleared this with CDPHE, it give us the option.
Here's my concern. We put something out for bid. Now we've got these two companies who are offering bigger machines that are outside the specs of what we put out for bid. There are probably other companies out there that maybe they didn't bid on what was put out for bid because maybe they didn't have those machines, but maybe they have the bigger machines. And so my point is, I mean, what we put out and the responses we got are two different things.
So let me ask you a question. On our bid, when we put it out, did we put in the spec sheet, this machine or equal?
I put a set
How
of
did we?
parameters in there. Number one, they had to have a Cat, John Deere, or a Cummins motor. The row size 14 to 16 feet, height of 7 to 8 feet. That was the basic bids. These new machines, these bigger machines, are obviously a little bit bigger than that.
So they don't fit within the specs of what was put out for bid.
No, not exactly.
Nothing,
They're
not anything did it?
Huh?
We didn't have anything within the specs, did we?
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
several.
Okay.
the
within
Backus,
specs.
the Backus was, it
The
was.
Backus
The
one?
Backus
is a-
and the Comtex.
Yeah,
But the bids that were actually in the specs, Backus still beat Comtech.
okay.
And the Scarab machine, like I said, he was in my office Friday and we talked about it. And they just can't match that, even close. So if we want to put it out for rebid, you're going to get the same bids back. I mean, Comtech rebid it. They offered to do when they did the 2020 machine on the original bid, they offered a 1-year warranty. They said that was false. You should have the document. It came back with a red line. They'll do the 2 years warranty on that machine just like they would a new machine. But they didn't change their price. It's still $460,000 plus delivery charge.
Right.
The Backus A58, they dropped it down to $419,000. That's only $5,000 more than those machines smaller than that. So, I mean, we can go for put it out for rebid, and add this additional size in there to get this machine, but they've already bid on it.
I think if you want the bigger machine, I think it would make sense to put it out for rebid so everybody has an equal opportunity to know what we're asking for and provide a quote. We might end up with the exact same thing.
You will.
Probably likely, but at least we're giving everybody a fair shake, because, conceivably there might be a company out there that just simply didn't know that we were even interested in purchasing a bigger machine. And so they're not gonna have an opportunity because they're looking at the specs that we put out.
Well, there's only 3 companies. I reached out to a 4th. They never responded to any emails. This is kind of an isolated field, like a trash compactor. There's only
Right.
a few that make them.
Mel, if we were to, put this out for bid again for, say, 2 weeks, is that gonna hurt your operation down there?
No, it's not gonna hurt our operation. I do have a certain time limit with CDPHE. They can't wait a year. We'll lose a grant if we have to wait very long. But like I said, these 58 and the Comtech machines are both available immediately. The other machines, they'll have to be shipped over from overseas. One's made in Finland, the other one's made in Germany.
I think to keep things tight within that procurement policy, putting it out for bid again would be the best way to go.
So I'd like to see that because in my mind, if you put, here's the spec or equal or better, they've met the better and then it's there, so.
Well, if that's in the bid, but it didn't sound like that was in the bid.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I didn't actually read the bid, so I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Because a lot of specs that I read are like that. It can be equal or better to.
I didn't specify that in the RFP. but
Okay.
Well, we can't make a decision today, but that would be my
it just-
preference. Rebid it with that quotation in there and see what happens.
Well, we can give him direction today
Yeah.
to rebid it.
Yeah.
We're not accepting.
I think that would probably be the most wise and prudent thing to do.
Put it
Not
out
that
with
we're wise
our
and
same
prudent.
RFP with equal or better than,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay?
And then does that cover us, Ian?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, you can either do it equal or better than, or you can put the larger specs out if that's really what we want. I mean,
I
It
think
gives
we'll
us-
just do equal or better than. That leaves it more options for other companies that may not make a machine as big.
If
Yeah.
you're wanting options, that
Yeah.
gives options.
yep. Yeah.
So since we approved the $465,000 last week, where does that leave us today?
Well, I
Because
think
we did approve an amount last week.
we did, and I think that I think the reality is what we probably approved was outside of the parameters of that bid. And so, I think I would suggest putting it under unfinished business tomorrow, explaining what happened, and then going ahead and moving forward with a new RFP.
So do you want to put a 2-week time frame on that and then have them back in
10 days?
whatever 2 weeks is from today?
Yeah.
The end of the month, yeah, would be perfect.
That
Yeah.
seem reasonable? We're going to get the same bids back,
I'm sure we will.
so, but we're
Yeah.
following their policy. Okay.
Sure, I'll get her
So
done.
that's your direction there, Mel.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks, Mel.
Thanks, Mel. Yeah.
Okay, now I will, I don't see Jonathan, so I'll go to next. I'll go to CSU. Emily and Greg. What do you have for us today?
Oh, we got everything. Good afternoon. First on our list is, as you know, transitioning is happening, with our office, with the Noxious Weeds as well too. However, with that and the change that's occurring, we're looking to move forward with a, CSU Extension 4-H and youth development agent. What that means is that we would move on from the fully funded, fully county-funded 4-H program coordinator position, and it would take over the second as I transition out of the county formula-funded position with CSU. So that's what currently budget-wise.
Real quick, Greg, is your mic on?
Nope, thank you. You guys can hear me. I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah,
Go
but
Bills,
it's-
right?
The issue is you can't hear it on YouTube for
On the
people that are
YouTube.
listening, so.
Well, basically, we're talking about the extension and noxious weeds office. And with some transitioning of myself at the end of this month and no longer having a 4-H program coordinator in the role in our office, we're looking to move into a 4-H extension agent, a 4-H youth development extension agent. So really what that means is you have had a county-funded 4-H program coordinator. This position would be in its formula funding, which is $15,000 a year. But the rest is covered through state higher education and CSU. To do that, the logistics behind that with CSU is that within approving it here or tomorrow, requested here and approved tomorrow, I take that information, send it on to our HR department, and they move forward in the process of advertising for the position, getting the interviews done for it, and hiring the position. So that hopefully someone is in that 4-H Youth Development Extension Agent role by the end of the year. Any questions on that? It'd be a considerable cost savings.
It is.
To
To us,
the-
it's $15,000 compared to a
40,000.
a full FTE.
Yeah.
The only question that I had is looking at your breakdown on it, as far as you had your breakdowns for percentages. Is that still kind of going to go from 33.33% to 50%, basically dealing with 4-H? Is that kind of how I read that? Because it was broken down as 50-30, 15-10.
Right, with the variety on that, but it would be primarily role and responsibility of 4-H and youth development,
Okay.
100% onto
Okay.
that end. And with that, with my transition, Emily would step into the role of county director, department head,
Right.
for Montezuma County as well, too.
Mhm.
We are working out, because as we talked at the advisory board meeting, we're going to hire for a horticultural-based position. Now, Emily's only one person, and so taking on, as best she can, the role of some of the other things within the extension office. However, with this cost savings, we'd like to come to you and be like, you know, as we're splitting the administrative assistant position between noxious weeds and extension, 50-50 on budget-wise,
Mhm.
is there an opportunity to hire a position, a program assistant position, under that budget, county funded, and what that would look like? And so we just want to hear about options onto that. I know I've talked to Travis, possibly maybe a seasonal end. Is it something better of a part-time throughout the year end of like a 20-hour-a-week position? And I haven't crunched the numbers on that because I was waiting to have the workshop here today to look at those lenses. Obviously, we'd love a full-time, program assistant to help out with things. However, understanding the budget situation, wanted to have a solution-based discussion on.
So
the-
part-time, are you talking half-time, like 20 hours a week? Or are you talking 29 hours a week? Or what really are you, obviously not looking at the numbers yet, what,
20,
Yeah,
so kind of half-time then?
halftime.
But it seems better to me if you kept that person annually, year-round, halftime instead of
Yeah.
doing it seasonal? Because seasonal, you're gonna lose 4 months or 3 months or whatever that.
We just started talking through that, and then it was like, yeah, what is the best strategy towards keeping someone year-round?
And also keeping someone, but then also extension programs, you know, we have lots of educational opportunities in the winter time when people aren't busy or maybe kids are in school. So things do happen year round. But obviously fair is a big crunch time that we want to make sure that we have enough staff to assist with that. So, you know, having that position
Sure.
during that time is really critical in the summertime. But there's lots to do in the winter time. So that would be beneficial to have that if there's the funds for that. So.
So, I mean, I'm just talking here and two other guys that can talk, on their position too, but I would think that if we're gonna do it, it makes more sense to keep that person year-round at halftime instead of
Yeah.
seasonal, because it seems like that's our seasonal issues that we're having, is if we lose them for those 4 or 5 months, and then it's, you may get the same person, you may not get the same person, or retraining.
Right.
Yeah.
Internships available?
And we still wanted to put that in the budget
Okay.
as well too, is the 2 interns specifically for our collaboration with the Fair Board.
For that month.
For that month of
Okay.
time. That wouldn't change, because I
mean-
think that's essential for that, once again, that busier fair time.
To me, it's a really interesting proposition. It's something that hasn't been taken up in this direction before, and, you know, just with this 4-H, I guess, call them a 4-H or youth development agent, what's the selection process? Do we have input into that?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So there will be a state level committee and then a local committee.
okay.
And what CS do is they ask for one county official
Mhm.
to take part in that state level committee. And then it would be our role as extension, but also the community to bring in people for the local committee.
Right.
And so it'd be 2 sets of interviews. There'd be one for the state level, one for the local committee, which asks a variety of different questions.
I think Joel was
Joel
our
sat on the
representative
one
last time,
friendly.
right?
Yep,
So he was our representative,
Yeah.
which,
onto that
Um,
end. And honestly, it does go a little slower. I mean, that's why we're asking for this approval, because once that goes to HR, then they throw that in, and then it gets, I'm hoping by next month it would be advertised. And it's usually a national level search that they put out there. That goes through that process, they get graded. And if it's someone that didn't have to move or relocate it probably could start earlier. But you have to look at the opportunity that that person might need to end things at another position and then come to the county as well too. But my hopes would be no later than the 1st of 2023.
so what, and correct me if I'm wrong, so what we're giving up, well, what we're not necessarily giving up, what we're doing is we're just changing to the formula-funded CSU agent, which is basically gonna take over the youth development, all of the 4-H,
4-H traditional
Coordination.
club programs, leadership development for the volunteers,
which
and
we-
working with the community on collaborative youth development. Yeah,
and that's $15,000 that we put forth to that position anyway.
correct.
And the big ask is to have then the program position halftime annually. So what we gave up, we had a full-time position there now, so we'd just be providing a halftime position.
Halftime position.
Right.
And we'd continue to work with the noxious weeds, that halftime
Sure.
administrative assistant,
Right.
halftime for the noxious weeds administrative assistant. But, you know, the numbers, like we
Yeah.
said, some days
Well-
it's 80% this way, it's
Yeah,
20% that way.
It's gonna be,
Yeah,
that's basically a budget item, 50/50. Yeah, some days it could be 90-10, some days it could be 10-90, who knows?
You got it, you got it. And with that, then the request would be to get with Travis and Phaedra and really break those numbers down so it's
Mhm.
correct, coming to you all for next week.
Yep. Okay. Question? I'm looking at you because you're probably more the agricultural guy than, for me specifically, I'm not.
But once this goes through, then
to
it would be
be-
an ask back over to,
Right, to be
the
part of
county
the,
and BOCC, who do you want to appoint
right,
as on the search committee?
right.
But the sooner we get this thing going, the more likely we are to get somebody back in here.
Absolutely. You
So-
got it.
I mean, I agree. Let's try to get this moving, and so,
On that program position, I guess my vision for it would that it would assist with youth development programming, but then also, so what we've kind of lost in the way that we are proposing for this 4-H youth development program is horticulture. And so if that person can help with master gardener coordination, those class offerings, like I'm going to try my best to continue those things, but we don't have, that other person who's doing that as well. So having that program person who could assist with that would be really helpful. And as well with the orchard at Yellow Jacket, so being able for our office to participate in that, having that position, I don't know if they could help with that. So we're trying to figure that out within CSU for having a sustainable system for supporting that orchard. We're not there right now. But so those are some of the things that I'm thinking of with this position, that it's not just 4-H, it's all of our programming that we can kind of, I guess, accentuate any of the things that I or this other position might need help with within our office.
Okay,
Those are my thoughts.
seems pretty logical to me.
We try.
Do I need to be here tomorrow for that approval or the request, or are you guys,
I don't-
that's
we can-
under unfinished?
I don't think so.
We're a
I
little
think-
short-staffed, to be honest
That's-
with you. I need
we
to be there.
understand.
Checks have arrived. Kids are coming
Okay,
in every
good.
hour,
That
and we
was
need
gonna
to
be
be
my
there.
question, but thanks
Yeah,
for
no,
answering.
and we
I-
will be open till 5:30 tonight for parents to come by. We're having a club leadership meeting as well too, and then Fair Board tonight, and then Wednesday until 7 p.m. so people can pick up their checks and sign off on them.
That was another question. If Fair Board was tonight, we need to leave our door unlocked.
Right.
Oh,
And we
I
just
had
got
the
a
key
key.
fobs.
Okay,
Just got the toggle. But Travis, let us know sometime later this week to do a budget meeting so that we have that all clear with noxious weeds as well too, if you can find the time. Be much appreciated.
We might end up doing it the same way we did last time, what was it, a couple weeks ago? And just crunch those other numbers in there if they approve it.
Okay,
So we'll have another meeting, we'll just have you come over and take, 10, 15 minutes so that you're on board.
perfect. That work?
I think you're going to be gone next week.
Yeah, I am, and that might be Emily.
I'm here.
okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
I mean, you basically have those numbers projected as we talked about at our last.
Before, now I
Now we'll
just
just
need to-
change them,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I think it'll be a pretty quick conversation. It didn't take
Okay.
us long last time.
And Bonnie did a great job of crunching her numbers, because I think we need that approved on the administrative assistant role,
Yeah, we have.
what that hourly rate is.
Yeah.
And with that, that gives our firm numbers on what that is.
Okay, you'll be here. All right.
Thank you.
very
You
much.
do not need to be here. That's why we have workshops, so you can do
Yeah.
all of this.
Do it all before.
Yeah, and it's, tomorrow we'll make a decision.
Bills are on tonight, go Bills.
What's that?
Who?
Bills are on tonight, so.
No, I paid my bills
But
already.
but the Bronco, you did see the Broncos won, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't get too misty-eyed tonight.
I'm not, don't worry. Humble and hungry.
So,
All right.
Commissioners, on the fee structure, we can either, if you gentlemen want to talk about it as it relates to the senior center, but we might want to table that because I know John he was given some more directive this weekend
Okay,
to do some follow-up. and he probably does not have that information yet, so.
Okay, so we'll table that, we'll move that to next week?
Be the following week, because next week is budget, the 26th is budget.
Okay, so 2 weeks down the
Yes.
road.
Well, looks like we're done. Let's go home now.
Okay, all right, well then we're gonna move that 2 weeks down the road. So now we have a further discussion with Kim, Dustin, and Leslie on a proposal that you are wanting to put together for your assessors' offices downstairs, then Kim's election offices upstairs.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Oh, look at that drawing.
That looks like numbers to me.
Yeah.
What you asked for, right?
All right. I think if we take the card reader out and the electrical out, we're there.
Yeah.
Just make sure you pull your mic up close to you when you're talking.
You have so many glowing personalities over there, so why do you need lights?
We have so many global.
Okay, you have the floor. So the kitchen area, so there's nothing there right now, if I remember right, it's just a open room downstairs, right? Other than the bathrooms obviously are closed off, and then the pit and everything on the west side is closed off.
Yeah, the kitchen's there, and then there's just an open way going into what would be the new appraiser's office, and that'll get closed off.
So you're asking for a 17 by 36 foot kind of card, let's see, what are you calling that? Just a,
We were gonna go ahead and put a card reader on that door closest to the kitchen.
okay?
Use that as the main entry and exit. And then the other door would be an emergency escape in case there was a fire somewhere where you couldn't get to the stairwell. With it being that large of an area, I figured 2 doors would be a better option.
So you're basically building 1, 2, 3 little walls, correct? Is that what I'm seeing?
It'd just be one main wall and then close that entryway to the kitchen. And then we would access that where the, fire suppression riser and the sewage pump and everything, just through that office.
It's gonna be included in the office. The door will just be left where it's not blocked by anything. And they would just come in our office and do what they need to do and shut the door back.
We don't have to access that very often, so.
How big is your hallway there, where they're gonna actually, their egress?
It's gonna be at least 6 feet wide.
Okay,
And the reason where I put that wall is it splits the fire suppression heads pretty well down the middle of 2 heads. So-
Okay.
So you don't have
So
lack
the-
of coverage somewhere.
so the 2 heads are in the hallway, in the corridor?
Yes.
Yeah, one is gonna be some in the
Whoops,
hallway and
excuse me.
then some in the office.
Yeah, right. So they're split. So
Yeah.
you have what, 2 and 2,
Yeah.
kinda?
Let's see, there's
2 in the hall.
There'd be 2 in each row on the office side and 1 in the hall area, I believe.
So, I'll be honest with you, I don't have an issue with this, the only thing is make sure, I think, because this is gonna be in the basement, that we check with the building inspector and make sure that we have our 2 means of egress out of there for safety purposes, that we comply with,
I
so that
talked
we
to Sean
comply with it.
Canada, and, because we were asking if we needed that escape window, and he said since it wasn't a sleeping quarters, we were fine with, as long as we had, stairs within 25 feet.
Okay,
So-
that's all that I,
Yeah. Is there emergency lighting down there?
No, we can get some.
Okay.
I would check on that, because they're gonna be now occupying that basically throughout the workday, right?
Yeah.
So 8 to 5.
Yeah.
And it's gonna always be dark down there, so I would check that too. I would just check the building code to make sure that we're not putting them into an environment that's not safe for them.
Yeah.
And then, it might change your estimate a little bit, but hopefully not a lot. So what you're basically asking for is an approval for the design, and if you can answer our questions from the fire marshal, then I don't have an issue with it. And you're saying, basically, you're requesting about $5,000.
Yeah.
Okay,
No change orders, okay? I'm good.
is all we have to do is find it, and I think we can find $5,000. We can find $5,000 out of federal mineral lease money. We can find it somewhere. We can.
Yeah.
But check on that emergency lighting for us, because if we need to add that, we definitely need to add it, because if there are people down there, we want to make sure that in the case of an emergency, that they are able to get out of there.
Okay.
And they're not having to look for a cell phone to turn it on to,
Yeah.
those would be my only considerations, and if you've already checked with the fire marshal and he's okay with it for what we're doing from 8 to 5, then, as long as we're compliant with that code, then I feel comfortable. Okay?
Don't
and
forget
then-
the aluminum foil.
And then, Kim, there's nothing to go on upstairs where you're at?
It's already included in this.
Okay, so that's also included, which you were just wanting a door, right?
Yeah.
Basically, between,
The 2 offices.
just
Yeah.
between the 2 offices.
Mhm.
Okay,
It's basically just some labor.
You're gonna have a closing door on it or just a walk-through? I think we're planning on a walk-through there and then using one of the other 2 doors.
how come I don't see any doors on here?
This is,
Or-
this is downstairs, ours will be upstairs. There's 2 36-inch doors.
Right, but they're adding a door upstairs too, right?
It's just gonna be a walkway.
It's just
We're
a
just
Oh,
gonna
it's,
blow-
opening.
it's not a door, it's an opening.
Yeah,
Okay,
between
See,
that.
it's a saw.
Okay.
just an opening.
And some cardboard.
So do you have any wiring and anything you have to relocate as you cut a hole through the wall?
There was a little bit, but that was running up above everything and then dropped down to the receptacle when we moved the wall in her office before. So I think we'll be fine.
Okay. There might be obstacles in your hole in the wall, is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Where my legs going? Might have
Yeah.
to move the hole in the wall over a little.
Okay,
Instead of hole in the rock, we've got hole in the wall, huh? Okay. Yeah,
Just remind your millennial will be here tomorrow.
okay.
okay.
Do any of us need to be here tomorrow?
No.
For this?
I think no. I think we have,
Not unless you want to be.
I think we have the numbers put together.
Yeah.
We'll put a contingency on there just a little bit for a light.
I wonder,
I have some safety lights.
how are they gonna, if, I don't know. Cause there could be people down there in an emergency anyways. How did we,
We'll look
you
into
know,
it.
with it being on?
How does an emergency light work? Is that what you're
No,
asking?
I'm saying, how do we not already have it down there if
That's a really good question.
Well, it could be, but when you put a wall, it could be only lighting this portion, and once you put a light
Yeah.
or a wall, you have to light both portions. Does that make sense? So right now, what we have, it might work. You may have one on the north wall and one on the south wall, but if you only have it on the south wall, you put up a wall, then the guys on the inside don't, they now don't have it. So you may not have to add anything. I'm just asking the question. I want
Right.
to make sure that they
Yeah.
do have that capability if anything ever does happen.
Okey dokey.
Yeah, there, you might be able to go towards the light, but there might be obstacles in the way.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
yep. Gosh, quick and easy today.
Phones, pads, whatever you got brought in, take with you. Lost and found's full.
So this is not on the agenda, but I had a conversation with Rob this morning, and I realized that this just happened this morning. So if we can't discuss it now, then we won't. We'll put it on the agenda for next week.
I think it's always best to have stuff on the agenda. I don't know what it is or how urgent it is, but I think as a matter of practice, it's always best
I
to.
don't think it's urgent. It would be just before we sign a plat. He brought, asked me a question on the single lot development that we approved a couple of weeks ago. And-
Let's put it on the agenda next
Okay.
week.
All right. Would you add the DS Crowley single lot development road easement as it pertains to the plat, Travis, for next week?
Yes, Crawley?
DS Crowley, I'll give this to you. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, then that will conclude our agenda, and that will conclude our meeting. Thank you, guys.